Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Sales Circle, the sales podcast that is designed to help you increase and improve your sales. No matter what background you're from, no matter what industry you're in, this podcast will give you the sales skills, motivation and mindset to really take your sales to the next level. My name is Rob Spence. Hello and welcome. I'm an internationally renowned sales trainer, sales author, sales coach, and I'm your host today. Now, before we go on, I want to say a massive thank you to the newbies amongst you. We are steamrolling our way into this latest season, and we've had an absolute array of new listeners. So hello and welcome. And of course to you, the fans of the show. Once again, thank you so much. I think I said in the last podcast, I spend a lot of time creating these episodes, and it fills me with joy that these are being listened to all over the world. Of course, do go follow us on social media and everything else in between. Now, today, we're going to be talking about a skill that every salesperson that should have. It's a basic skill. It's sort of, if you were to kind of implement sales into some kind of military kind of boot camp, this is a skill that every salesperson should have in their locker, in their Bergen. It should be there, ready, primed, ready to go. But in today's busy digital world of LinkedIn, email, it's a skill that is perhaps being lost and perhaps being ignored. And we're going to talk about it. We're, of course, talking about cold calling. We're talking about that scary job of picking up the phone and having engaging conversations. Although this episode is going to focus a bit more on sort of cold calling, so calling someone completely cold. Of course, it could be implemented, I should say, into warm calling, following up with leads and everything else in between. So as always in this episode, we're going to go through a bit of basic training. Going back to the army analogy there, we're going to do some basic training on cold calling. We're going to talk about what it is, how to structure it, and some hints, tips and advice. And I've got some listeners' questions and a book recommendation at the end. So before we go on, thank you so much for joining us in the Sales Circle. Let's get started. So why does cold calling still work? Why does cold calling still exist? We've got LinkedIn, right? We've got email, we've got automations, we've got AI. I saw an advert on my Facebook over the weekend maybe about an AI caller, you know, these AI bots that sound genuine and they make calls on your behalf. That's good, right? Because cold calling is scary. Is it? I don't know. We'll find out. So why is cold calling still important? Why should we still be bothering it in sort of 2024 and of course 2025 and beyond? Now, cold calling is still very much effective. I own a telemarketing agency. We make, we've got a small team. We make anywhere between 700-800 cold calls per day, and we still generate results. We still generate great leads. And what I always say to the clients that I work with is not only do we generate leads in quantities, but we also generate leads in qualities as well. For me, and before we go on to the statistics, cold calling is still the most beneficial way in which we can disrupt someone. We can stop someone in their tracks, I should say. We can grab their attention. But beyond that, it's personable. We can have genuine conversations. We can qualify people pretty quickly, right? We know whether they're the right fit, whether they're not the right fit. We can understand pain points very quickly. We can also overcome objections very quickly. So it still works. It's still very relevant. Now, my biggest argument with cold calling is this. If everyone else is neglecting something and they're going for digital marketing, email marketing, social media, digital lead generation, whatever it is, why isn't someone doing something different? It's normally those that are different that stand out. If you're looking at a field, let's just use Wales for argument's sake. If you're looking in a field and you've got dozens and dozens and dozens of white sheep, you always notice the black sheep. That's where your eye line goes. If you're looking down a row of shops and every shop is blue, you notice the red one, right? And for me, that's the most important part about sales and marketing. We should be standing out from the crowd. We should be differentiating. We should be having good conversations. Now, I've got some statistics. These aren't statistics I've made up. These are from a company called Spotio. So this one says that 78% of salespeople who use social media as part of their strategy also use cold calls to reach prospects. And it also takes an average of 8 cold call attempts to reach a prospect. Now, also, 2/3 of buyers are open to discussing solutions on a cold call, showing that there is still an appetite for their personal touch that cold calling approach that it provides. Now, let's dive a bit deeper into that. So, what I want to make very clear, and we've done a podcast now on social selling, I'm never a person that puts all their eggs in one basket. I'm never a person that says, just do LinkedIn, just do email, just do direct mail. We've got to use all of the tools within our toolkit. We've got to use everything that's available to us. We've got to use that omni-channel approach. We've got to use the screwdrivers, the flatheads, the Phillips. We've got to use the pliers, the adjustable wrench. We've got to use the saw, everything to get the job done. So it says here that, 78% of people who use social media also use cold calls to reach prospects. Now, it also takes an average of 8 cold call attempts to reach a prospect. Now, this is the biggest thing with cold calling. I think because of the Wolf of Wall Street, I think because of Hollywood, I think because of weird sales managers and directors that make stuff up, we think and we expect and we assume that we can make a sale on cold call 1 or we can make a sale on cold call 2. But actually, it takes 8 cold call attempts to at least reach a prospect. Let's look at the second statistic. 2/3 of buyers are open to discussing solutions on a cold call. 2/3 of buyers. So out of 3, every 2 are still willing to open and engage. So it still works. It's just how we do it that is the most important thing. So look, cold calling is direct. We're allowed to have engaging conversations with our prospects. We're able to open them up, understand their pain points. We're able to converse. We're able to qualify. We're able to actually understand who the actual decision maker is. And beyond that, every cold call allows us to gauge the tone of conversation. We've all had that text message from our partner, right? Or our girlfriend, our spouse, our husband, our wife, whatever it is. That text that says, okay. Now, that okay could mean a manner of things. It could mean, okay. It could mean, okay. We just don't know. And this is the thing. With telephone, we're able to use our tonality. We're able to use personality. We're able to use volume as well. We're able to use all these little hints and tips and tricks that allow us to understand the flowing and the fluidity of a conversation. An email will be read in the way that a reader reads an email, right? There is no emotion. There's no control. So, how can we structure a good cold call? Now, as always with my podcast, although it does have a sales training alignment, please do make aware that this should not be considered sales training. It's like doing 10 press-ups and considering yourself a press-up king or queen, okay? You've got to do so much more. I've got loads of courses available on cold calling, appointment setting, telephone sales. If you want to learn more, head on over to any of the Sales Circle official social media channels or go to Paragon Sales Solutions, click on the online sales training courses and you'll find a course that is relevant to you. So how could we structure a successful cold call? Now, for me, the number one thing is preparation. Preparation is absolutely key. If you're just using an auto dialer just to call and call and call, or one of those systems where it calls 10 people and just whoever picks up first is the person to engage with, you're not going to get very far. You're going to be robotic. Someone may as well just use an AI person to make the calls for them. Research, know information about the company, know information about the decision maker, and try and understand or at least guess what their pain points will be. Of course, a question upon that will always be, well, where can I research? LinkedIn is obviously always your biggest thing. Internets, read companies' blog posts, read their social media. You don't have to spend hours. And here's a warning to all of that. Some people will use the preparation phase as a procrastination point to stop making the cold call because they're going to spend time researching. Don't worry about that. Just spend literally 1 minute. Set yourself a minute timer. What can I quickly gauge? What can I quickly read? I always recommend to have a cold call flow, not a script, but a flow. Now, here's the difference. A script is a script. That's the written word. That's you acting. That's a robot repeating word after word. It's boring, it's monotonous, you can always tell. Hello, my name is Rob Spence, and I am here today to sell you some cookies. Would you like some cookies? What is your favourite flavour? Why won't you buy from me? Boo hoo hoo. If you read from a script, people pick up on it very quick. Your script should be at arm's length. It should be here. This is why I call it a flow. A flow will help you keep on conversation. All you're doing in a cold call really is having a conversation. It's a big secret, right? But you still need a flow to understand. Maybe an objection is normally thrown at you, where to take the conversation then. Maybe someone's not willing to navigate a closing decision, we need a flow in which we can go down. Like I say, that script should be put at arm's length, or that flow, I should say, not right next to you. And finally, of course, don't forget to actually set goals for the call. What do you want from the call? My biggest advice, and I work with a lot of companies across the world in writing sales scripts for people, and they always come to me and say, we want a closing script. We want to be able to close on the first cold call. Well, I'm sorry to say, you're not going to really close on the first cold call. Once again, maybe 1 in 100, 2 in 100, maybe 5 in 100. Always, obviously, there's variance to it. It's very rare that you're going to pick up the phone and someone's going to be willing to get their checkbook out. Okay, there needs to be some interest. There needs to be some desire. There needs to be some relationship development. So for me, the goal should always be the next steps. What those next steps are completely up to you in your process. It could just be, it could be a Zoom call. It could be a more thorough telephone call. It could be a face-to-face visit. It could be sending out a PDF brochure, whatever it is. That's entirely up to you. But you must have a goal. Of course, how are we actually going to have the cold call structure? Of course, we need to open. We need to be very polite. Now, there's always pros and cons. And once again, in a lot of my training, I go into this in a lot more detail. A lot of people will say, don't ask people how they are. Just get to the point. Just try and get past the gatekeeper. There's that cold call opener that's happening a lot everywhere, and it's getting boring and monotonous and overly used. Would you hate me if this is a cold call? Yeah, boring. Okay. For me, we are all human beings. Have a conversation. And the best person you want to speak to on that cold call actually isn't the decision maker. It's the person you pick up the phone to. That gatekeeper is your best friend, or you want to at least make them your best friend. So, hey, how you doing? Are you okay? How's your day been? Yeah, good, thanks. Don't get me wrong, it'll brush some people up the wrong way. But so too will the opener of, hey, this is a cold call. Would you hang up on me in 90 seconds? Or words to that effect. Open up that cold call in a nice, friendly manner. This is then where you get the chance to give your mini pitch. Now, never be afraid to give that mini pitch to the gatekeeper or whoever's picked up the phone. For me, that mini pitch is a quick, I always kind of break it down into, we fix these problems. Who's the best person to speak to? So find 3 of your best benefits. So, hey, my name's Rob, calling from Shoes Direct. Is that an actual brand? I don't know. Listen, don't want to take up too much time, but we basically allow people to walk more stringently, stronger, and with less strain on their heels. Now, is that something that you guys struggle with at all? And if so, who's the best person? Is it you that deals with that? We get that mini pitch it's kind of like an elevator pitch. We're going to find 3 pain points, 3 benefits, so to speak, and we're going to quickly pitch those. And what we're going to try and do, each one of those becomes a little hook. We've got benefit 1, benefit 2, benefit 3. Now, hopefully one of those will become a conversation starter, or at least a little trigger in the back of someone's mind. Hey, look, I know I've caught you off guard here. We are a systems provider, and basically we help companies, very similar to yours actually, save time, reduce paper costs, and actually in doing so, we can increase your profits. Is that you that deals with that kind of thing? I've used 3 things there. Hopefully one of those will align with the person I'm speaking to. Well, I'm not too bothered about the profit. To be fair, I guess we could save time, but you know what I'm sick of ordering paper. I'm sick of ordering paper. Boom. One of those hooks is stuck in. We now need to go down that route there. And of course, we then need to continue the conversation. Now, I think for me, this is where the flow could go in a number of routes, and this is where the flow becomes really important. For me, don't close too soon. Don't try and say, oh, you hate ordering paper. We should definitely have a chat about that. We need to try and elaborate a little bit further. We need to suck out information. Now, here's that old sales adage. We're born with 2 of these and 1 of these for a reason. I despise salespeople. Pick up the phone. And they just talk and waffle. And you're just like, oh my God. Hang up. A good salesperson will ask questions. They'll try and understand more. They'll try and tease out. So once again, I've given my mini pitch there, and that person says, actually, yeah, that's me. Oh, it sounds like you're dealing with those problems then. What resonated with you there? Oh, to be honest, we go through so much paper and we're trying to align with net zero goals. Boom, straight away as a salesperson, I'm hearing net zero. I know that their biggest pain point here is environmental concerns and paper. Okay, I hear you. Yeah, okay, yeah, I understand. So have you got your net zero policy in place now? What's the deadline? Is it 2025? Yeah, it is. Oh, goodness. I mean, how much paper are you going through? Oh, do you know what? Probably going through, 20 reams a day. Oh, 20 reams a day. Dunder Mifflin's making a killer from you. Is that costing you what? 100 quid a day? 100 quid a month? What? Oh God, yeah, it's probably costing us. Boom, we're just diving deeper. We're teasing out. Gosh, so actually, if you're saying you're spending X amount of money on paper a month, our system only costs half of that, and you're not going to use any paper. So we're going to be hitting your net zero goals, but also we're going to be saving you a hell of a lot of money here. Tell you what, why don't I come out next week and we'll have a chat about it? We're teasing out, we're guiding out, we're understanding what those pain points are, and we're just trying to keep that conversation going. We're trying to allow that conversation to flow. We're not rushing things at the start. We're not trying to close too early in the middle, but we're teasing, we're guiding, we're listening, we're understanding and looking for the clue to the next steps. But we are still looking for that close. We don't want to be too heavy on that close. We don't want to say, oh gosh, we could save you a lot of money here. Tell you what, why don't I send you the contract? We'll get you signed up today. Whoa, take me to dinner first. We can't jump into bed too soon. We've still got to try and take like a mini step, a mini little jump over. Okay, look, it all sounds good. Listen, I'm in your area next Tuesday. Are you free at 10 a.m? Or I'll tell you what, why don't I jump on a Zoom call with yourself? Is there anyone else that should be included? And we'll do a Zoom call for 5 minutes. I'll send you a £5 Starbucks voucher to get yourself a coffee before the meeting. We'll have a quick run through, see what we can do for you. These are the questions that we're trying to put through in the cold call. Now, here's the real statistic that I want you to hear. This is the real statistic that I think is truly important when it comes to cold calls. 44% of salespeople give up after one follow-up call, after one phone call, after one follow-up. But 80% of sales require 5 follow-ups or more to close. And that's a statistic I've shared with you before. And it goes to show, although, I've hopefully given you a nice relevant flow to get that conversation to push on, don't forget, we've got to follow up. You're not going to make a sale on that first call. You might not even set an appointment on that first call. You might not even be given an email to send on that first call. And that's why it's so important to develop a relationship with whoever picks up the phone. Because when you pick up the phone again, hey, Tony, it's me again. It's Rob. How you doing? You keeping all right? How's the kids? You said they had a karate match last time. I called you. Yeah, great. Hey, listen, I know you're busy. Have you thought any further about our solution? Could it save you some time, money, hassle, X, Y, Z? No, do you know what? I've been too busy. Okay, no worries, mate. I'll call you next week. We're going for the weekend. I'm watching the football. Great. Call again next week. Hey, Tony, how's the football? Great result, right? Or bad result, maybe, if you're a Leicester City fan. I don't know. So be persistent. Keep going. Develop relationships with everyone in that business. Just remember this. You're not only selling to the decision maker, you're selling to the influencers within that business as well. And sometimes you've got to churn that. You've got to go through the motions. You've got to develop relationships. And eventually, you'll get the result you want. If you want to further enhance your sales skills and to pick up one of my latest books, then please go ahead and do so. You can find them on Amazon or any good bookstore. Just search for Robert Spence, search for The Paragon Mindset, Relationship Selling, A Month to Improve Your Sales, and pick up a copy today. Now, one key part to cold calling that I've purposely neglected from this session today is the objection handling, because I think, look, objection handling, we could spend hours talking about, we could dive deeper into it. Remember, these podcasts aren't designed as a standalone sales training session. They're supposed to be your fodder that you listen to on the way into the office, on the way to a prospect, just to give you a bit of motivation, to remind you that you're not alone. So if you are interested in further sales training, go to Paragon Sales Solutions or follow the Sales Circle Official on any social media channel. There's loads of links to sales training. We've always got a discount somewhere, which is good for you as well. As a reminder, I own an agency that makes, hundreds of cold calls every single day. Every cold call is different. Every cold caller is different. Every person you speak to is different. That is the beauty of cold calling, having genuine conversations. Don't think that you can ever find the perfect speech, the perfect pitch, the perfect script, because the perfect script won't work on everyone. The perfect script won't resonate with this person, with that person, and everything else in between. Make sure that you engage, you listen, you use emotion, you use your voice as an instrument, and you go through the motions and don't give up. Just because you've made 10 cold calls and didn't get a result doesn't mean that in the next 10 cold calls, you're not going to get a result. Or in the next 10 cold calls after that, you're not going to get a result. Keep going, stay persistent, and get to it. Now, here's the big thing I want you to do today. If you are driving into the office, if you have got some prospecting goals, I want you to make at least 10 cold calls today. Okay, could take you half an hour, could take you an hour. I want you to make 10 cold calls. Do that today. Do it again tomorrow. Do it again the following day. And let me know how more leads, prospects did you start to generate just by picking up that damn phone. Now, this is always one of my favorite parts of the podcast, and I want you to get involved in this. Every week, I ask you for sales questions, sales problems, sales concerns, and I want you to write those in. You can do that in a number of ways. You can either send a DM to anywhere on social media. If you just search for the Sales Circle Official, or Sales Circle Podcast, we should show up on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X or Twitter, YouTube. We are everywhere now. So please do send a DM on there. Or, of course, you can email thesalescircleofficial@gmail.com. Now, I've got 3 questions from people, from listeners, from you sat at home, sat in the car. And I've tried to pull out ones that are quite cold calling relevant. So we'll do question number 1. How do you overcome the initial nervousness of making cold calls? Well, look, practice. Practice is the key. I remember my first ever cold call. We didn't even have headsets. I remember picking up the handsets, and I thought everyone in the room was looking at me. I thought everyone in the room was going to be judging me. I thought everyone around me was going to be judging every word that comes out of my mouth, and genuinely shaking like this. Oh, hello. My name's Rob. I'm calling. I was nervous as hell, and now I'll pick up the phone to anyone, not an issue whatsoever. If I don't get the result I want, no bother whatsoever. The key thing that's helped me with that is genuine practice. The more you do, the easier it gets. Of course, you want to make sure you fine-tune your trade. You want to make sure you research your prospects. Make sure you know your product, your service, your business inside and out. You want to rehearse your objections. You want to understand the next steps in the sales process. You need to put that in. But the best thing is just keep practicing. I assure you, your first ever cold call will be horrendous. It'll be atrocious. It'll be laughable. But if you just try and improve every cold call by at least 1%, in a day's work, when you've made 100, you've had a compounded interest increase of 100%. You're 100% better than what you were in your first call. Makes sense, right? So just keep pushing and don't give up. Don't ever stop. Don't do one day of bad cold call and think, yeah, that's it. I'm not a cold caller. Just keep going. Had another question from James. Hey, James. How long should a cold call last, ideally? Mate, that's a real tough question. Look, 3 to 5 minutes, I think, is a good length. It's a good length. Well, for me, 3 to 5 minutes is enough to kind of allow you to pitch. It gives you enough time to get your point across. It gives you enough time to listen to the prospect as well, but without taking up too much time. We've got to remember, we've got to be really respectful when we cold call. We are interrupting someone. We are taking up someone's time in their day. If we're calling C-suite, if we're calling MDs, directors, everything else in between, goodness, they are busy. And how dare we take up their time? So we've got to be respectful to that. So 3 to 5 minutes is ideal. You don't want to overkill it. You don't want to overburn it. If you feel you need more than 5 minutes, that's where you know ideally you need to be booking on another call or another meeting. Final one. Who's this one? Shannon. Hey, Shannon, thanks for listening. What's the best way to follow up after a successful cold call? Multitude of ways. You've got to do it quite quickly because you want to be fresh in someone's mind. Our lives are busy, right? We've got a social life, a family life, a business life, and everything else in between. No matter what we say, we are forgettable people. Salespeople are forgettable. So we've got to jump on things quite quickly. Within 24 hours is the best kind of length, give or take. How you follow up is entirely up to you. An email will suffice. I feel it always feels a bit more personal, which I think is a great thing in sales if it comes from a LinkedIn message. If it's a high ticket and there's loads of money to be had, send a little letter, send a little thank you note in the post. Get some postcard prints and just saying, hey, thanks for accepting my phone call. Looking forward to speaking with you next week. That's memorable, right? A nice little postcard with a photo on the front. That'd be sweet. That'd be cute. Do something that's memorable. Connecting with people on LinkedIn, sending a message, I think is a crucial thing, not just in the short term, but the long term as well. But do it quick, maybe not too quick. Try and utilize that time. If you do it too quick, you kind of look a bit desperate. If you do it too long, it looks like you've forgotten about that person. So as soon as practically possible, within 24 hours, but make it personal. Now, just before we wrap up, I think we've got 4 minutes left, give or take. I want to give you a book recommendation of the week. This is something we do every single week. Of course, if you are an author or you've got a book to recommend, once again, message in. Today's book is one I've not read in a while, full transparency, but this stays on my bookshelf. This book is called Cold Calling for Chickens by Bob Etherington. Now, I thought this was very kept for this podcast because we are talking about cold calling, and this book is all about cold calling. Great read. Once again, to be fair, I'll put a link to the Amazon in the show notes below, so please do check those out. However, I think I picked this up on eBay, to be fair. But a great book and all focused on cold calling. How many pages we're at? We got goodness, about 148 pages. Good length of text, shouldn't take you too long to get through it. But it's written by somebody who does it successfully every week. They talk about how cold calling can be fun. They talk about how it's more effective than other networking parties. Here's a good stat for you. 95% of your competitors are too scared to do it. This means there's a lot of business out there waiting for you. You actually overcome your fear by becoming an even bigger chicken. No's are not bad things. Go for more no's. 2 is not enough. Success usually comes on the 6th attempt. We've already said that early on today. The 5% of all sellers who do it properly are taking 85% of the new business in your market. By using this material, you'll make sure you join the few. And there's some other bits and bobs on there. So please do, if you are into reading, which I always recommend for salespeople, and especially if you are looking to cold call, it's a great, easy book for you to pick up. Lots of useful tips in there. How many chapters we got? It's got 5 sections. Telling isn't selling, how to keep them delivering golden eggs, attitude, marking out the chicken run. I thought someone was going to make out with a chicken. But great book. Please do go check it out. Like I say, I'll drop the link below in the show notes. If you do have a book or you can recommend a book that you think is worth salespeople reading, drop me a note and I'll make sure I give it a shout out. And that's it. That's a wrap for this week's episode of the Sales Circle. Can I just say that absolutely flew by? I always like to keep these under half an hour because you are probably on the way to the office, you're on the way home, you are on your lunch break, you are on a run maybe, or perhaps you're going to see a prospect. You don't want to be listening to anything more than half an hour, and that flew by. So thank you so much for joining me. As a brief reminder, these podcasts come out every single Thursday on every single platform that you can imagine. Spotify, Apple Podcasts. There is a video version available on YouTube, so if you feel that you want to kind of take part in a video version, please do so. We also now have a Facebook group. If you're looking for hints, tips, advice on sales, please do search for The Sales Circle on Facebook groups and you'll find it. Come and join. Lots of great resources, lots of great advice, lots of great hints and tips. Thank you so much for joining me in the Sales Circle. We've got another great episode lined up next week. It's an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. And until next week, all the best. And that's it for another episode of the Sales Circle. Make sure you hit that follow button, join us over on social media, and we'll see you next week.